Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. And I do hope everyone is having a wonderful day. And welcome, the only crazy lady. You are number one today. Hey, Frankie, number two. And for anyone joining over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, wherever you are joining, welcome, welcome. And thank you. I do appreciate you. And I hope everyone's having a beautiful, beautiful day. And hopefully we won't have any hiccups like we did yesterday. We just have the top left. Oh, okay, cool. More braids, crazy lady? Okay. Yes, braiding is time consuming. I don't know if you have to have the patience to sit there or you have to have the patience to do it. I've done both. Yeah, you still got to maintain it though. Okay, so let me stop this and let's get started. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, so today I want to talk about your grown children. Your children are grown. The memories of watching your children grow up, would you have changed anything? And, I know some people say, we all say it. He says, well, yeah, it is way simpler. It is, but, still got to maintain it. So we have, said in our lives, I wish I would have done this. I wish I had, done this differently. So when you look at your children, whether they're grown or even if they're two, do you think you would have done things differently? Would you have made the decisions that you made? If your children asked to go somewhere and you told them no, and when you talk about certain things with your kids years later, and they bring up a certain incident, you wouldn't let me do this. Hey Shelby, you wouldn't let me do that. Hey Minnesota, did I say hello to you? Hello Minnesota. Would you have, when they say, mom, remember when, or dad, remember when, blah blah blah, and you talk about it, would you have let them have hung out with that particular friend or let them go to that concert or that party? Would you have let your daughter wear a particular outfit or your son, wear a certain outfit, whatever? Would you have done things differently? Would you have raised them differently? Would you have, when you look at how the world is now, would you have done things differently? Do you think that you prepared your children enough for what is to come? And I know that we can't, be that mama bear, even though we all want to. Hey, Kimberly Michael, welcome. Even though we can't be that mama bear and protect our kids consistently and constantly, do you think that there is something that you would have done differently with your children? For me personally, I think I did a great job with my son. I think my husband did a great job with him, but I do wish that I had prepared him more for living life as though it were 1955 as opposed to the 21st century. But other than that, I would not have done anything differently. When you look at discipline, do you think that you were overly, what do I want to say? Do you think that you were too much of a disciplinarian? Do you think you were too strict? Do you think you were too lax? Do you think that your daughter liked this boy, and you thought that she was too young to date, and she sulked for 2 months? Would you have done things differently? That girl that your son wanted to date, and you thought she was kind of sketchy. Hey, Blunt Ninja, welcome. Would you have let her date that guy? Or as your children did get older and they turn 18, 19, whatever, and you see them doing things, and and you say in the back of your head, well, they're grown, they don't want me in their business. Or even if your kids told you it's none of your business, can you stay out of my business? Do you wish that you had have stepped into their business, or do you wish that you had stayed out? So that's my question for today. What would you have done differently? Shelby, how was the dentist? Shelby went to the dentist today, y'all. Oh, no, you didn't. Well, we got to do some dental therapy on one of these shows. So I mean, is there anything that you would have done differently? Would you have had friends that you were hanging around with? Would you have been around, would you have had those people around your kids? Or would you have brought other people around your kids? Would you have lived in the same state or wherever you live? If you were able to live someplace else, what would you have done differently that you think could have changed, possibly changed? Not saying that it would have, possibly changed the way your children have grown up. Or if you don't have children, hey Taurus, welcome. If you don't have children, do you think that your parents could have done something different as to how you grew up? So those are my questions today. Anybody want to come up and join me? Mm-hmm. Wait, hold on. Hey, Shelby. Oh.
I definitely need dental therapy.
So did you purposely miss your appointment?
No, I went.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're going to have to do some dental therapy on Shelby. Okay, so is there anything that you would have done differently as a parent, or you wish your parents had done differently?
Well, with my oldest daughter, I definitely would have been more involved.
Okay, when you say more involved, do you mean in terms of her day-to-day life, or you showed up at the school play, or the boyfriend she wanted to date? So when you say that, what do you mean? Because that can mean a lot of different things.
Boy wise.
You don't think she made the right the decisions?
Well, who she's with now, yes, I mean, he's absolutely wonderful. But she was raped, and I regret every moment of that for her, because
Hmm.
I feel like it's my fault, because I did not was not more involved in that situation. And
Involved in
she
terms of
tells
supporting her, or and I'm so sorry that happened.
um of being more strict, I guess you could say, because I would tell them, okay, she needs to be home by this time. And she was never home at that time. And I would tell him, when he brought her home, look, now I told you that she needed to be home at this time, and it is now this time. And I was never, I never put my foot down, and, I was always lenient with her. And I should not have been. But I did not know until she was 17 that she was raped, and this was when she was 15.
Shelby, I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
I am too. I am too.
So,
I mean, it was heartbreaking for me.
okay. So, I'm sorry. You said you found out when she was 17.
Mhm.
Did you find out
Yes,
by
ma'am.
accident, or she told you? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
It was well, it was kind of both. She uh felt the need that she needed to come forward and press charges. So she went to the child advocacy center here,
Mm-hmm.
and she told me, she said, "Mama, you need to take me there." So I took her there, and I kept asking her why on the way there, and I thought it was to do with something totally different, because her cousin had molested her when she was little. So
Hmm.
I thought that's what it was about. And then we got there, and she was, telling the story of how it happened. And I mean, my jaw dropped. I was just like flabbergasted.
Was it
And
by this boy that you were saying, bring her home one time?
mm, yeah, it was. It was. And I mean, so in a way, I was more flabbergasted at the fact that she waited so long to tell me. I would expect that she would have told me, you know, when it happened, but she was so embarrassed, and she thought that I would be mad at her. And I told her, I said, no, I was never mad at you. I would never be mad at you for something like this. This is not you know, now I was mad at him. I was ready to go kill him, literally. Um,
So he still lived in the same area?
um, we had actually moved from the area that we were in to where we're at now. Um, uh, and the advocacy center that we took her to was in uh, 30 minutes away, but that was the only advocacy center around us. Um, and but yeah, we had moved. That's why it took her so long, I guess, is because we had moved, and the more she thought about it, the more it ate at her. And she was just like, I couldn't deal with it anymore. So they put her. Go ahead. I'm
No, I
sorry.
was going to say, had she told anyone else up to that point?
No,
Okay.
no. She's a very private person. She didn't even tell her sister, and they're pretty close, you know. Um, they fought like cats and dogs, but something like that, I figure she would have told her, but her sister said no. She never told me anything like that. Um, but she took it upon herself, you know. I was proud of her for stepping up, you know, and taking care of herself in that situation. And she did take what they call trauma classes.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady that led them, you know, really helped her a lot. And I was part of, you know, of some of the classes that um, she had to take because some of them were hard for her. And it was mostly of she had to describe what happened. And I had to be in there for that, which I mean, it made it that much worse for her, but it also made it that much worse for me you know, it just ate at me and ate at me. And I'd have to come home and tell my husband about it. And I was just like, I just, you know, something gnawed at me, you know, about this guy. And I don't know why I just didn't put a stop to it then, but she liked him, and I took her at her word that he was a good guy, that he wouldn't do something like that, and then he did, you know, and
Was this boy that much older than your daughter? Were they the same age?
um, he was a year older than her.
Okay. So
They met in high school,
was there
and
any um, um, abuse going on? Like, were there any red flags that your daughter, when she looks back at it now, were there red flags?
uh, she never really said if there was any red flags. I mean, physically, Uh, there were no bruises, um, but he was controlling.
Well, yeah. So when I say red flags, I don't necessarily mean that is physical, but in a mental or emotional thing, were there red flags?
Well, um, now that I look back on the relationship, he was controlling with her. She wasn't allowed to do this, or she wasn't allowed to do that. She couldn't talk to this person, and she couldn't talk to this person. And it was usually ex-girlfriends of his that she could not talk to.
Wow. Shelby, I am so sorry. I mean, you just welcome Power Girl and welcome Brina. You just share something very very personal. But do you think that had you told her to had you one either said put your foot down and not allow him to allow your daughter to date him, that's one thing, but saying make sure she comes home, make sure she gets home at this particular time, and he did bring her home at that particular time, do you think that that would have prevented the situation, even if he did adhere to what you said and brought your daughter home when you told him to?
Probably not. No, probably not. Because, like I said, he was very, controlling of her, and he made sure that it was like he made sure he ruled her instead of me.
Well, when did they break up?
I made her break up with him when we moved.
And how low was your daughter then?
Uh, close about 16.
So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get personal, but I just have to ask, when the situation happened, did she, I mean, was it like early on and she kept dating him, or?
That I don't know. She won't tell me that.
Okay. Okay. So, how much older are your? What's the age difference between your two girls?
They are almost 2 years apart. They lack like maybe a month and a half, 2 months.
So, I take it, were you stricter on your younger daughter before you knew the situation with your older daughter?
Uh, we were about the same. We were more lenient with my younger daughter than we were with my oldest daughter.
Okay.
That's why I was very, confused when she was like, I need to go to the advocacy center, and talk to them about some things. That's why I was confused.
When
And
you went to the center, were you like waiting out in the reception area or whatever, or did you go in with her when
yes,
she?
they would not let me go back until she was finished telling what she needed to tell.
And then
And then they
she
took
told you
me in.
then, and you found out then, or you found out when
Yes,
you got home?
no, they interviewed her first, and then they brought me in and they said, this is what she is telling us. Do you know anything about this? And I was like, no, this is the first I've heard of this. And she started crying and she's like, Mama, I'm so sorry. And I was like, thrown aback.
Well, Shelby,
I was,
I'm at a loss for words right now, because first of all, I am extremely, truly sorry that you know that happened to your daughter, or for anybody out there, that happens to. So when you were going through these classes with her, these trauma classes with her, was it is there a reason why your youngest daughter and your husband didn't go, or Juju and TQ
um,
welcome?
well, my husband, he's the breadwinner, so he works.
Okay.
I didn't work. Um, I'm the housewife, so I don't work. And uh, my daughter did not want her involved. That was a decision that she made.
But when you all got home, okay, so after you found out initially, did you? I know you told your husband. I'm assuming. Did your youngest daughter find out then, or was it a couple of months later? Or because to me, when something like that
Um,
happens in the family, that affects the entire family.
yes, it does. She, my youngest daughter, did find out um, by accident. My oldest daughter, did not want her to know at the time. She found out by accident. My youngest daughter is very nosy. She thinks she's got to know everything that's going on in the household. And I was discussing it with their dad, and that's when she found out, was that night, and she was like, she had went to my oldest daughter and was like, you let that happen. How did you let that happen? Do you not know how to say, she was making it the matters worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a knockdown, drag out fight with them. I mean, it was awful. Um, but I was more focused on my oldest daughter, and my husband stopped the fight. So we had to literally separate them for months.
Well, did your well
I
did you
would take, go ahead.
no did your I mean, and I understand that at the time, then that means your oldest daughter. I'm sorry, your youngest daughter would have been 15 years old, right?
She was 13.
Okay, so at the age of 13, she really, I'm playing on, I'm gonna be more on her side in terms of saying, at the age of 13, do you really understand? Like, did she really understand what she was saying?
She's very smart and very articulate, so she knew what was going on.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Now for
Plus, she's a SVU junkie, so she knew.
okay, all right, all right. So has that? So when you say that you would have, so again, after that incident happened with your daughter, with your oldest daughter, did that change? I mean, even though you said that you were lenient with your youngest daughter, did that change anything when your daughter started to date? That you were more, leery of guys that she went out with, and you guys double checked them and did background checks and
Well, we didn't do background checks, but I was more with my youngest daughter. I was a little bit more um, concerned. Um, I would voice my opinion to her and tell her if I didn't like somebody, and but she is so um, adamant about getting her way.
you're talking about the youngest
She
daughter is.
knew, yes, my
Okay.
youngest daughter, she knows how to play her dad and I against each other. Um, my middle daughter did not date, or my oldest daughter, I say. She did not date for a while after this happened. Um,
And when you say
and then she
a
began,
while, is that a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years?
probably about 2 or 3 months, I
Okay.
would say 2 or 3 months. And then she slowly, you know, started dating. Um, she, and she still, a couple times she got burnt, after, when she started dating again. And, she just, she felt very used. And, it's hard to put into words about her. She felt used and she felt betrayed. So she was, she on her own, she felt leery about dating.
So do you still hold the feeling where you say that you think it's your fault? Is that something that you think that you'll continue, that you'll hold on to for a very long time? Or do you look at the situation differently and say, you know, this could have been different. Maybe it couldn't have been different. That's why I ask. Even if you told this guy to have your daughter home at a particular time and he did, do you and she was still going out with him? Do you think that because you told her to come home early, that the situation still would have happened?
I still think it would have happened, yeah, and I still hold it in my heart as it being my fault because I did not protect her enough, I feel like.
Okay. Okay. And is interesting when you bring up, when you say, for protecting your kids. It's like so many things go on in the world, and you see, people's, your children getting killed. You see your children, in car accidents, whatever. You see your children go to school and they get bullied. Your child may be, 7 years old, and they come home crying because, this 8-year-old kid is, beating them up every day, whatever. I mean, it's like you want to protect your kids, but that begs the question, when you say, could you have changed anything? when it comes to protecting our children, how far can we go? I mean, what do you do?
If I had had a chance and I knew I wouldn't go to jail, I probably would have killed him.
And
And her dad probably would have done the same.
and honestly, I don't see anything wrong with that sentiment. When someone hurts your child, I mean, that's something that you just, your those parental instincts come out. And it's like, you don't touch my child. I mean, I don't even want you yelling at my kid, you know? But
Right.
Shelby, I mean, you shared something that was very, very personal, and thank you. Um, I'm just at a loss for words right now because I'm just thinking about what you said in terms of, I understand when you say that you hold it in your heart and what have you, but aside from just telling her not to date this guy or she couldn't go out with him, um, and the way you say that, how he was with her, would it have still happened? You know, um, tell your kids, don't drive with this particular person, because they drive like crazy, and they still do it. Your kid gets into an accident. Um, is that your fault? Or is it your, or are you saying it's your fault as a parent because you should have put your foot down?
Right.
I mean, because I think of things that my mother was the main disciplinary in my house. And I can think of a lot of things that my mother told me not to do, and I did it. Um, Sometimes it came back to bite me. I was that kid who was told don't ride in a car with somebody, and they had an accident. You know, but that was, that taught me not to get into a car with people who drove like crazy. And one time I refrained from getting into a car and it saved my life, you know. But as parents, we make decisions and we do things that sometimes we second guess, sometimes we're adamant about. Um, Sometimes we do that, because I said so, even though I never said because I said so to my son. I said that's one thing I would never do to my child, and I never did. But parenting is hard. And when you have issues that come up and incidents that come up like your daughter, I mean that's just hard. It's like, what do you do? Because the first thing that I honestly would have done is, as soon as she said who it was, I would have picked up the first butcher knife or whatever, and I would have been going after him. So can I ask when welcome at age Matt? Can I ask when that incident happened and she filed charges? Was he ever caught? What happened in terms of the legal thing?
Um, well, this is what bites us all. He joined the sheriff's department part time.
What?
Yeah, so they all take care of each other.
So wait, okay, so
So
when she filed when she was 17, that means he would have been 18. So that
mhm,
didn't pop up in his record at all?
mm-mm. They all took care of him. So and he's now full time on the sheriff's department and where we used to live. So there nothing's going to be done because of that.
So do you know if he's ever done this to any other girl?
We don't know for sure. We kind of have a feeling that he did because um like I said, he told her who she could and could not talk to, and one of them was an ex-girlfriend. So we have a feeling that, he did, but it's like
Wow.
she still, she won't talk to her now. She's she's at that mentality. I've washed my hands of it all. I've done what was laid on my heart to do. I took care of this situation. She said, I'll never forget what he did to me, but I don't want anything else to do with it.
So from the time you guys moved to now, has she run into him at all, or have you run into him, or?
Oh, we go back sometimes to our old town for like the 4th of July festival and stuff. And
Mhm.
yes, I've ran into him. Yeah. And it took everything I had and my husband grabbing hold of me to not attack him. Yeah. If it wasn't for that, I probably would have, you know, even though he was bigger than me, yeah, I probably would have went to jail.
So when you saw him, did you make eye contact?
Oh yeah, he knew because he literally crossed the street and
Wow.
walked on the other side of the road when he realized who I was.
Wow. Wow. Do you regret not saying something to him at that point? Do you regret, or like, I wish my husband had not stopped me? Would you do you wish you
I
had
wish
said?
my husband wasn't there at that particular time. Yes, that is the one time that I do wish my husband wasn't with me.
Wasn't with you, or he didn't stop you?
Wasn't with me.
Okay. Okay. Were your girls with you at that time when you saw them?
Oh yeah, cause my daughter was like, "There he is," and I just happened to look up, and I mean, he was crossing the road as I looked up. So he apparently saw her first, and then saw me look up, and because
Okay.
he knew that for me, payback was a bitch with me. I
So
don't believe in I believe in karma to an extent, but something like that, no. This was going to be Mama's terror.
so how many years has it been? Can I ask how old your daughter is now?
She's 21.
Okay. So would you, if you were to see him again, see him 5 years from now, 10 years from now, would you ever say something to him?
Well, since she's told me that she's washed her hands of it, I would probably leave it alone for her sake
Okay.
because um, I would never admit this to my children's face, but she is my favorite because
You're not
she.
supposed to admit that out loud.
I'm not. Well, nobody's here but me.
She might listen to the show.
No. um, she has she's just like me in a lot of ways. And she, like I said, she's been through this. She's come out the other side, and she looks at things differently. And like I said, she's got a guy now that, I mean, he treats her like a queen. Um, he just, I mean, he's awesome with her. And that's all I ever asked in life after all this happened, was that she would find somebody that would treat her how a woman should be treated.
Okay. Shelby, I'm at a loss for words. And
I
I'm
was
usually
too at the time.
I'm usually talking, so I'm usually
Yeah,
you usually
you usually are.
can shut me up. Usually can shut me up, but I mean no, I mean this is I mean when you came up on the panel, I thought you were going to talk about I wish my daughter wanted to go to a party or something like that. I did not know it was going to get this deep. I mean once again it's like you look at your children and first and foremost, you want to protect them. Even if your children consistently screw up over and over and over and over, you still want to protect them. You still want to, like you said, make sure they're okay at the other end. You want to make sure that, even though they have to go through all of this, that they're okay. Even if they do stuff, that goes against what you want them to do, you know, um, you still want to protect your children. So
Right.
are you so okay, so your youngest daughter is 19.
Yes.
Okay, so do you find yourself, because of what happened with your oldest daughter, do you find yourself, not saying that you do, but wanting to get into their business, or, and I'm gonna use the word meddle, because of,
Oh, yes, I do. I do meddle.
but is that because of what happened, or you already used to meddle, or you do it more so now because of what happened?
I do it more so now because of what happened.
Do they tell you to step back?
Um, in certain areas.
Okay.
Um, my oldest daughters, especially when they have disagreements. I don't say fight because they don't really fight. They just have disagreements. Um, I kind of get in the middle of it, and I know I shouldn't. Um, but I don't take sides. I tell them I'm Switzerland. I'll listen to each other's uh point. Um, and tell them, I sometimes disagree with my daughter, and sometimes I disagree with her boyfriend, but um, they had a pretty good big blowout a couple months ago, and I didn't agree with either side. I thought they were both in the wrong. She come home, she had packed her stuff and come home and moved back home, and I was like, y'all have got to work this out. I can't do it for you. This is something you two have to work out together. And she was like, but mama, I was like, no, but you need to be on my side. And I'm like, no, this is something between you two, and she still has her days to where she wants to revert to that 17-year-old, mentality of things, that things should, be a certain way, but she's slowly getting there. Her boyfriend now is very good for her.
Well, good. So let me ask this, because this is something that my husband and I, we were talking about it. Actually, we were talking about it Sunday, and you know, I I I have an only child, so he doesn't
Mhm.
have sisters or brothers. I mean, he has cousins, whatever, but it's not the same as having a sibling. Um,
Right.
and we were, just talking about what my son was going to do when we're not here. Even you know, again, y'all have heard me say I want to live to be 100, whatever. You know, if even when my son is in his 50s and whatever, I wonder what is he going to do when we're not here? Um, and as parents, and I say to not just people with grown children, but even people with small kids or teens, whatever. Do you guys ever think about that? Do you ever think about what your children are going to do or what their life is going to be like as if you're not here? Because on some level, we still think that, and I come back to what I was saying before, that we can protect our kids, even if they're grown, married, whatever. I do hope my son does not marry some skanky wanky. But anyway, but I mean, but do you ever, think about that? Do you ever think about what your children's life, you know, what your children's life is going to be without you? Because I remember when my parents when I had gone home one Christmas, and my sister and I, we were over my parents' house, and we were and they were talking about it, and they said, we're confident that when we're gone, you two are going to be okay. Because we raise girls and have good heads on their shoulders, blah 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 blah, whatever. But can every parent say that? And if you do say it, do you still have that in the back of your mind? But what if? So, and I put that out to everybody. I mean, do you ever think about that?
Yes,
Okay. Do you think
I
you're
do. I pray that we raise strong girls. Um, I know my youngest is very independent. She she could take care of herself if she needed to be. If she was alone, she could take care of herself. Um, Now my oldest daughter, I kind of worried. Um, but I think if pushed against a wall, she could take care of herself. Um, so I think that they would be okay, but like you said, I still worry, but I think that's any parent, you know, or any parent should I say,
okay? Now, Brina says I do worry a little. So, so Brina, I asked, do you worry because a little, just because you're a parent? Do you worry because of your son's personality? Because when I worry about my son, I worry because of his personality. My son is sometimes he could be a pushover to the point of, oh my God, is he going to continue to do this? I mean, where sometimes it does worry me. So Brina, when you say you worry a little, is it, you know, okay, as a parent, my son is also too nice sometimes, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being nice. My son is the nicest person that I know. I mean, he is literally the nicest person that I know, but he's too nice. Sometimes he's too nice. So those are things that I worry about. Because sometimes, I mean, even at the age of 22, he'll call me, he'll tell me certain things. I'm like, you said what, or you did what, or we're out and about, and he'll do something, whatever. And I'm just looking at him, biting my tongue, because your kids do have to make their mistakes and fall down, whatever. But it's like, you're sitting there biting your tongue and you want to say something. So,
Yeah. Yeah, because I do that myself.
but then again, you look at some people and you look at some kids and it's like, you say to yourself, because I have done it. I mean, I don't know if you guys do it or not, where you say, that kid's not going to have any problems, later in life. And even when you guys were in school, if you think about when you were in college or high school or even grade school, could you look at that kid who you knew was going to be okay? And when you look back at high school and you have the most likely to succeed, I don't mean you're Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk and you have all this money and you're succeeding like that. I'm talking about when you say most likely to succeed in life in terms of being able to take care of themselves. Would you all be able to go back to high school and point out that person, even if it was yourself, that you're that person who was most likely to succeed? Hey, Shorty, you know, um, so
Yeah, I like what Brina said. She said it's not the quality in him, it's just that she doesn't want him to get taken advantage of.
absolutely, Brina, I am with you 100% there, 100%. Brina says he will buy candy for a kid so they don't feel left out, even if he doesn't know them too well. You know, for something like that, I don't have a problem with, but I have a problem with if it's like, they're asking him to buy candy and he continues to do it over and over and over. And it's like, then it's like being taken advantage of. No problem, Shorty. So, you know, how many of you guys as parents or even as, again, I go back to when you were a kid, did you see that person who that one kid in school that everybody seemed to take advantage of, because there always seemed to be that one kid that everybody would just seem to push, shove, I mean,
Yeah.
and I think I told you guys this once before, is before my son was homeschooled, I would sit. And when I would go pick them up and they would have to line up, my son would be in the front of the line, say one of the first three kids in the front of the line. But somehow or another, the other kids are just kind of, getting in front of him, getting in front of him, getting in front of him, and he would be last. And I'm looking at this, and he would get in the car. I'm like, why do you always, let people get in front of you and they're just shoving you, whatever? He goes, Mom, it's no big deal. It may not be a big deal then, but when you get older, you don't want people to do that. And I was telling him, when you start working at a job, you don't want that coworker who is taking advantage of you, or if you're working on something together and you do all the work and they present it and they get the credit. I mean, stuff like that carries over into adulthood. Now, granted, he was only
Yeah.
in second and third grade when this happened, but you see that pattern, and
Mm-hmm.
then we went to some outing when he was in homeschool. I think we went up uh to Sacramento or something. And I was watching this one little kid just kept picking on, picking on, picking on, picking on him. And I'm just sitting there watching, just wanting to just, whatever. But my son turned around and said, "Leave me alone. Don't talk to me." Which shocked me because my son is so soft spoken and just so whatever. I was like, oh, and that kid kind of looked at him like, ooh, and he didn't bother him. So later on, when we were at the hotel, I asked him about it. He goes, "Mom, I just got sick of him." And he never does that. That was so out of character. And I was like, yes. And I'm saying to myself, next time, kick his ass. Seriously, because for me, that's what I would have done. For me, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to take this kid and beat him up. It's like, you're picking on my kid, but I had to sit there. I had to wait. I had to let him, do things. And those are things, so again, growing up, did you all see that one kid? I mean, were you all that kid that everybody pushed and shoved, and you're at the front of the line, and you're lining up, to go back in after lunch, and you were the last one?
I was the one that got pushed around.
Okay, so did you ever do something about it? And Shorty said, okay, she was. Okay, so did you guys ever do something about it? And did that situation change how you raise your kids now?
I never did because I don't like confrontation. And as far as my kids, I um I hoped that they were never like that. Um, it did take us to move here for them to be able to, I wouldn't say be popular, but to, have friends. They didn't have friends where we used to live.
I don't like confrontation either, and I think that it's a waste of time, especially if someone is arguing, like a point or an opinion or something. I think that's ridiculous. But in terms of standing up for yourself, I think that sometimes that confrontation is necessary just to put people on notice that you're not going to put up with it. And Shorty says, yes, I did, and yes, I tell my kid to tell them first, then you have to do what you have to do. I mean, yeah, it's like you give that warning. Well, I told you. So Shorty, can I ask how old you were when you were the one that was being pushed around? Were you in grade school, high school, college, young adult, old adult? I was 15. So was it just at the age of 15, or like 14, everything was cool? Then 15, when you were 15, that year was just sucked. And then 16, you were fine. And Shelby, I asked you the same thing. I mean, you know, do you think you ever grew out of it, or did you ever tell people stop?
Well, um, when I I grew up in Memphis, um, that kids there are just like you got to fight for your own. I was never like that. Um, then I moved um, to Mississippi, and where we moved to, it was different here. I wouldn't say I was popular, but I hung around with a lot of the popular kids, so nobody messed with me then. Um, but so it got better when I was in high school. There was still a couple bad seeds, but I never, nobody messed with me. Uh, so my last 2 years of high school were, enjoyable, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Um, but for my kids, I graduated the same place that we practically raised our kids, and it was different for our kids. Um, but when we, moved here where we're at now, like I said, it changed, different. It was, how 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 I say it should have been, for them where we did live. Now my oldest daughter was picked on still, but I always told my children that if they come home with a black eye, they did not fight back, they weren't gonna get, you know, punished per se as, I'm not gonna beat you up. But, we were gonna have a discussion as to why they did not take up for themselves.
Okay. Now, Shorty said for her it was in middle school and high school. You know, let's talk about that for a minute. When you say you're going to have a discussion, why they didn't take up for themselves, do you think that every child is able to do that?
I don't think every child is. My oldest daughter's not the fighting type. She is not. She's like me. Confrontation is not her forte. She would much rather turn the other cheek, and leave that person alone, not go near them, not have anything to do with them. Um, but she also values friendships. Um, but she just doesn't, and her feelings get hurt if she loses a friend, and she had that where we
Okay, Shelby, I think you just went out.
Yeah, my daughter coughed. She had a friend that she thought hung the moon, and this girl was spreading rumors about her, and the um she didn't confront the girl, but the girl decided to confront her, and she literally just told her, this is not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be my friend. You're not supposed to spread rumors. And they almost got in a knockdown, drag out fight. You know, at school, and my daughter's not like that. She turned the other cheek and she walked away. And the whole entire time she went to school there till we moved, it was like that every day. She had to avoid this girl.
So, do you guys think that you, as a parent, even if you're not a parent, and if you were a parent, or maybe your parents did it, but I'm just saying, if you were a parent or you are a parent, do you think that you would tell your kids to do something about it or stand there and fight? I mean, if your kid was getting picked on every day, or a kid hit them, do you expect your child to hit them back? And if they didn't hit them back because they don't want to get into a fight, I mean, even though the fight had started because somebody already pushed them, but they hit them back, then the fight's on. Would you get upset with your child if they didn't hit back, or they didn't say something back to this person who has been tormenting them? Or do you go up to school, or whatever, you take care of it? And Shorty says, yeah, yes, I would. Okay. So are you saying, so Shorty, I guess I'm asking, why would you get upset? And does it depend upon how old your child is? A 7-year-old on the playground hitting your child who's also 7, is that different from a 12-year-old hitting another 12-year-old, or a 16-year-old hitting another 16-year-old? Does the age matter? And I say that, I mean, I'm asking Shorty, but I say that to everyone, also. Does the age matter?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I can tell you a story about my sister and I. My mother taught my sister how to fight, but she did not teach me how to fight.
Okay.
She told us, she told me when I was older, she said, I knew you would make it better in this world. She put it in a way that made it sound weird, but she said, I knew you would make it in this world book smart than street smart. And your sister is street smart, but not book smart.
Okay.
Which is true. I mean, so that's, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I was going to pop over to Shorty.
Oh, okay.
Shorty, welcome.
Hi, Solid Blue. Hi, Shelby.
Hey, Shorty.
Hey.
How are you? Hi. Well, to answer your question, it doesn't really matter what the age is. If somebody messing with them, they should be able to take up for themselves. Or if they can't really do it, they have their siblings to help them do. That's why I teach my kids.
But
If somebody's messing with you,
what if the sibling is not there? What if they're at the corner store and someone messes with,
okay,
with with them and they're by themselves? So let's assume that they're by themselves and the siblings are not there.
have to take up for themselves, they're gonna have to at least try. They're gonna have to at least try, because that's all that matters. At least you try, instead of just sitting there getting beat up and not doing anything. And then that's gonna make the parent mad, and then want to go tell them to go back, and then you gonna go, and then it's gonna be a whole big confrontation between you and the parent and the kid, in between the kids.
Okay. All right. So
Right, right.
so if your child ran home, came home, however you want to put it, and didn't fight back, um, let's say this person had a weapon, and I don't mean like a gun or something like that. Let's say that they picked up a stick or something. Does that make a difference if your child backs away? And I'm asking Shorty.
If they pick up a stick and they try to hit them with it, it's gonna make me mad, because they can't fight fair. But then they gonna probably pick up a stick and fight back with a stick. It's gonna be an all-out stick fight.
Okay. All
Better
right.
than win with a stick.
All right. Okay. I'm there. Okay. I asked the question. You gave me the answer. Okay, Shelby, you want to answer that one?
I agree with Shorty. I mean, it'll be a stick fight.
All right. All right.
But like she said a few minutes ago, about the siblings taking up for each other. My sister took up for me, and she was there. If somebody was messing with me, you don't mess with my sister. Now I can mess with my sister, but you don't mess with my sister.
Well, most siblings
Right.
are like that. I mean, because my sister, she said the same thing. Don't mess with my sister, whatever. Because I was the youngest, whatever. But and then my father was the peacemaker. He was always the one. Now, girls don't fight, and you shouldn't do that, whatever. My mother's like, if somebody hits you, you better try to knock the crap out of them. Um,
Right. My mama told me the same thing. If you don't,
seriously.
listen, you better not come home and you ain't try. You gonna get a whooping, and then you gonna go back out there and get it together again.
Seriously, so I mean, and then it's like, at one point, when my sister and I, when we talk about it now, it was like, do we fight? Do we not fight? We gonna get in trouble if we do, or we gonna get in trouble if we don't. So but I was only in one fight my entire childhood, school age, whatever. I was in seventh grade and she was in sixth grade. But yeah, I mean, and Shorty, I'm coming to you because of something that you put in the chat earlier. When you said that you were 15, it was high school, middle school. What made you stop being the person that was being picked on? What made you stop being that pushover?
What I did, cause see, I don't like to start trouble. I don't like to be in confrontation. So it's like they kept pushing me until I got to that breaking point in middle school, and I told this boy to leave me alone. So one day I wasn't feeling good, and I was on my, girl cycle, your friend, and he
Mm-hmm.
came to mess with me the wrong time, and then he said something, so I just punched him, and it was over with. And they just left me alone from there after I whooped his butt, and then it was over with. And I couldn't, I just like blacked out, and then they left me alone in middle school. They gave me my respect. Same thing in high school. It's like they try to find Well, they try to find the weakest link in school, who they can push over until you get back at them, and then they're like, oh dang, she ain't that one to, or he ain't that one to mess with. Let me go ahead and give that respect, And they ain't never got suspended for both of them, because I told they didn't want to listen, so it is what it is. They had to get it.
Okay. All right. Well, y'all, that's all I got. And Shelby and Shorty, both of you guys, thank you for popping up on the panel. And Shelby, thank you for, again, sharing something that was very, 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 very personal. And you had me speechless there for a while. But I do appreciate it. But I am going to leave you guys with a song called, since y'all tend to like jazz and stuff, this is a little bit of jazz and a little bit of soul, sort of, kind of. I'm going to leave you guys with a song called Love Me Back. And TQ, I also want to say to you, yesterday when I was having my technical difficulties at the end of the show, I was thanking people who sent me gifts, and I couldn't remember who sent them to me because my chat, when I came back, my original chat was gone. So Brina had to remind me that it was you. So again, thank you again for the gift from yesterday. So I do appreciate that. So, okay, guys. So here we go with Love Me Back. Shelby, did you want to say something else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So here we go, guys, and enjoy the rest of your day and evening wherever you are in the world. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Okay, y'all, and that's it. See you tomorrow. Bye.